Hello and welcome to the Brass Junkies. I am your host, Andrew Hitz, and I am joined by beautifully talented and whimsical and inspirational co-host Lance LaDuke. Lance, how are you?
Meh.
You're really feeling it, huh?
I have one more week of freedom and then school starts. I have to say that as though my life is so hard and that my job is so terrible. So I don't know why. I guess it's just like ingrained into you. But no, I like my job, and it's the opposite of work. It's so fun.
I know because my wife, because of my professional life, I know a lot of college teachers, and because of my wife, I know a lot of public school teachers. And I will say that one of those groups complains about school a lot more than the other, and it's the college ones who tend to complain a lot more. But yeah, anecdotal, but there's a lot of evidence there. So, but moving right along. Speaking of college, we interviewed Dr. Jonathan Fowler. Yeah, he's wonderful. As you're about to hear, I am filling in for him. He's taking a sabbatical, and I am teaching his 19 tuba students this semester at Westchester University. And Hiram Diaz of the President's Own Marine Band is teaching his euphoniums for the semester. But he's a really fascinating guy, and we talk about how he's starting to take lessons as a part of his sabbatical for the first time since 2006, which I thought was really cool, and the importance of reevaluating your priorities in life. And he talked about some dental issues he's had, which he offered.
I'm surprised we didn't get there sooner. I don't know, 190 whatever episodes in. I'm glad we talked about it some. I wouldn't say it was like an in-depth thing, but I think it was an important topic to cover.
Agreed. Yeah, agreed. And then we also talked about what he got from his three main teachers. Really, really good stuff. I appreciated this conversation with him very much. And wanted to thank Parker Mouthpieces for providing the hosting for the Brass Junkies. Parker Mouthpieces offers fine, customizable component mouthpieces for horn, trombone, euphonium, and tuba, including the Andrew Hitz Hardest Model tuba mouthpiece and the Lance LaDuke Model euphonium mouthpiece.
Boom.
You can find out more at parkermouthpieces.com or follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. If you would like to become a Patreon patron and help us to make more of these, that would be very, very appreciated. It also gets you access to bonus episodes. He talks about a really awesome performance fail in this, Jonathan did. I talked about taking my son to see Empire Strikes Back and about Steve Dumaine and some funny banter there. And we had some good book of questions for this one. Like this is my favorite question in a while. What's the wackiest belief you had as a child? That was good. There was some good stuff. So this episode was my perfect kind of mixture of some really helpful and thoughtful content, and then also just having some fun. So and I hope you liked it, Lance. But if you didn't, then
it's over now.
I'll give you a full refund. All right, without further ado, let us get to the conversation that we had with tuba player extraordinaire Dr. Jonathan Fowler.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to see more content by the Brass Junkies, just click on the like and subscribe button. You'll have an opportunity to see some of the greatest brass players in the world, and Andrew and me.
And today on the Brass Junkies, we are joined. Did you know that we're interviewing a doctor today, Lance?
Who is?
We are. We're interviewing a doctor. Yeah.
Wow.
He goes by, his stage name is Dr. John, but he's not the one from New Orleans. This is Dr. Jonathan Fowler. Jonathan, how are you?
I'm excellent this morning. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow, he got serious real fast. That was kind of cool.
Real fast.
Man, if you could have heard the banter ahead of time.
I was trying to think of something to say about the doctor
pleasure to be speaking with you. Yes, I appreciate your invitation. Thank you very much. Beforehand, it was like armpit fart jokes.
He just went into like job interview mode. If he thinks he's going to monetize this appearance, then maybe we should put that in the pre-show notes. Tell people like you're going to get no professional value out of this appearance whatsoever, so you can just
and it might work
relax.
against you.
Yeah, it could. Yeah.
When you say doctor, it's sort of, I have to be Dr. Fowler, or then I can be John. There's like so let's get rid of the
that's great. So I got inside of his head by calling him Dr. Fowler. I'm going to call you Dr. John from now on, which if any of you youngsters listening do not know the music of Dr. John, I'm begging you to not listen to the rest of this and to go check out Dr. John on YouTube, because he's one of the great American musicians of the last 50 years. So there. So should we talk more about and also check out the Dr. John from New Orleans, because he's pretty good too. Jonathan is the professor of I don't know if you're assistant or associate, or if you're the dean, or I don't know what you are, but you teach the tubas and euphoniums at Westchester University, and you wear a few other hats there. How long have you been at Westchester?
I've been there since 2007. So if our listeners can do that math in their head, then they're a step ahead of that. Something between 15 and 16 or 17 years or something like that.
I mean, it's 15, but that's fine. We can complicate it if we want.
Cool.
And how
whatever with your fancy math.
I was like, that one was pretty. That math was pretty easy once I figured out what 2007 was. That was like that got a little confusing. But how many lessons are you teaching this semester, Jonathan?
Well, let's see, somewhere between 0 and 0 lessons. In fact, I don't know if people know, but the role of Dr. Jonathan Fowler will be played by
double masters dropout Andrew Hitz.
Wow. Man, would you lose a bet?
Yes, because that's what I would want if I won a bet. Be like, I'll show him. I'll do his work for him. Yeah, that'll teach him.
How do you know who I was talking to?
3-hour commute in there too.
He's going on sabbatical for the semester, and he couldn't get anybody good for euphonium, so he ended up hiring Hiram Diaz. And I was his top choice in the world for tuba. So at least he got.
I wanted you to do both, but
we're not going to say what I said to that request. No, if you can get Hiram to do your euphoniums, you should probably get Hiram to teach your euphoniums.
Got it.
Yeah. That's so. What are you doing for your sabbatical?
Sabbatical is going to be a lot of things that I try to do during the normal semester, but can't because I teach 25 students a week. So some travel. I'll be in Ohio for quite a bit. Columbus Symphony is a group that I play with often. I try to do 8, 9, 10, 12 weeks, something like that with them a year, just depending on how I can get out there. So doing some back-to-back weeks out there, actually taking lessons for the first time in since 2006, since I graduated from the doctorate. So actually taking lessons, doing a few master classes. So sprinkling it around, but trying to keep on the east-west corridor of Westchester to Columbus, more or less. So a lot of plans, some studying, and some master classing.
So this is I don't know if we've talked about sabbaticals in general. So for listeners who are not familiar with what that process is like, how do you become eligible for sabbatical? What do you have to do? What's entailed? Okay,
so to start, you have to have a position that entitles you to a sabbatical. I've been there.
Wait, we need to enjoy it. What's entailed?
Entailed?
That's pretty
entailed.
I thought that was worth interrupting you because
I let it settle, and then I was like, entailed sounds somehow dirty too. Anyway, keep going.
So, man, you derailed me with the entail thing. So you have to have a position
that's real hard.
That entitles you to that, right?
Didn't detail you. So stupid. Keep going. Do not let us slow you down. If you stop every time we say something stupid, we will never get past this question.
The answer to what he's doing for a sabbatical is just this interview because it's going to take 3 months.
So essentially, once you're full-time, once you're tenure track at a school, at my school, if you do 7 years straight, then that entitles you to 1 semester of sabbatical, which means you can go pursue scholarly activities. It runs the gamut. People that are like scientists that they go and do field research or dig up a site somewhere if they're into archaeology, whatever. So I'm going to go play the tuba and teach the tuba. And the they just started a thing at my school at Westchester where if you do 14 years in a row without a sabbatical, you can take a year off. You can double up on that.
Is that what you did?
No, I haven't. No, I wasn't quite there. I was at about 9 years, I think. So I pulled the trigger on it and went for it. But yeah, I was eligible for it, and hey, let's do this thing.
And you still get paid, and everything is the same from that standpoint. And so the school then covers.
Schools are different about it, but yeah, my school pays me full salary for the whole semester. So.
Well, I'm not getting paid either. I'm doing it for the love of teaching.
Yeah, for the love. And so, do you have to come back with the deliverable? You forgot we were recording today, didn't you?
No, I have to do the thing that I said I was going to do. I have to do that. I don't think I have to do like a big prepared document. No, I said both of those answers included I said, I think. Mm-hmm. So in other words, I should probably look into that, right?
I mean,
you got 3 months.
In your defense, your sabbatical doesn't start for another entire week. So
there you go. Yeah, I got time.
7 days. Yeah.
Yeah, I got time.
So you mentioned that you're going to be taking lessons for the first time in a while. What inspired that?
Part of it is look, for when you apply for a sabbatical, they want to see you doing things that are what they call faculty development or scholarly growth. So the first thing I thought is I haven't really studied the tuba or had someone tell me things about my own playing since 2006. So I think it's easy to do when you're in school I did school like 10 years straight, all through all 3 degrees. And you get used to that feedback and the preparation and then that whole cycle, that whole how that works out. I haven't had that in 17 years or so, or 16. So I figured it's probably something that's good for me, but something that it's going to be, I'd be a lot more nervous about taking lessons at 44 than I was at 18. Because, you feel like you have something to prove, I guess, at 44, whereas 18, you're like, I suck, just beat me up. So,
right.
Yeah, so it's good for me. I hope.
And are you taking them with one person? You don't need to say who it is. I mean, you can if you want, but you don't need to. Or are you spreading it out amongst a number of people?
The plan was to spread it out. Right now, I have two people lined up that have sort of agreed to help me out. And so and part of it is, aside from just getting beat up a little bit at my age, but it's also learning pedagogy through that process, right? I want to be able to bring some of that back to my students. And it's one thing to do in a master class, but also when you're one-on-one with someone that's fresh and has a different perspective than you can bring that back. And that's kind of what it's all about, especially with the sabbatical tie-in. Like, I should be bringing something back ultimately that helps the students.
Are there particular aspects of your playing that you're looking forward to digging into?
Are you asking me where the bodies are buried in my playing?
I mean, other than style and multiple tonguing and registers and dynamic contrast, he's pretty solid.
Tone.
Yeah, no, there absolutely are. There's things I've struggled with since I was 16. That hey, if I can get some help doing some of these, mid-range flexibility and certain things like that, then I'd love to bring that in my own play. But I would say the biggest deal is trying to help my own students out with something that isn't. I've been teaching. I can't say I've been teaching the same way, but I've been teaching at the same school since 2007. So if you're not freshening up your pedagogy, you tend to do a disservice to the schools and to the institutions. So trying to keep things fresh.
This is a slight pivot, but have you noticed? What are you noticing post-COVID in terms of how students are reacting, how they're coming back? Because last year was more or less normaler,
sure,
which was not to say normal. But are you noticing any tendencies or commonality?
Yeah, look, it's weird. During COVID, my freshman class, my first year class of fall 2020 was like 16 or 17 first year students. I had this mammoth class. and they came in. They'll be juniors now, and great kids. And they play, they work hard, and they play well. They practice all that stuff. So I think it depends on the institution, whether like depending on what you see. So I know that's an outlier that I had that huge class in the middle when, frankly, we were told a bunch of students would be taking a gap year in 2020, and I had 15, 16 first years. Some of them have since changed their majors, and they figure stuff out and figure out that music isn't what they want to do, and we wish them the best. But it's still a lot of students that I have from that class. In terms of like last fall, and well, Andrew, you can tell us about what's going to happen this fall. You can report back and tell us what's going on there. But no, it's weird. Starting with that class of students, it's like half of them are really into fitness and trading stocks. Like all of a sudden starting that, I don't know if that's a thing about growing up during like 2008 being your formative years and the housing crisis and all that stuff. But I did notice like a swing from some of the students that seem to be really into taking care of their finances. And when I was a student, it was like, hey, 20% interest credit card, here's a free t-shirt. So that,
yeah,
that whole vibe
I remember those days.
Yeah. It's like, well, what are you doing with that credit card? It's like, I don't know. I didn't want to do laundry, so I had to grab this APR so I could not smell like old laundry for a week.
T-shirt cost me $3,000. Yeah, well, yeah. And I guess in a related question that's not COVID specific, but you bring up another point which I've observed. I mean, I observe every year, which is that a certain number of students come in and they are positive that they're going to, like, they come in with a plan and they execute that plan. They just like zing. And then there's this variety of other, which is some of them stay in music, but they sort of pivot, and then others just sort of fade away altogether. And I have my own thoughts on that, but what's your take on whether that's a good thing, a bad thing, is just life, or kind of where are you about that? You've taught a bajillion lessons by now.
Yeah. Okay. No, you're totally right. You got your kids to come in and they're like music ed, right? 4 years in, 4 years out, they go get a high school band. They do the thing. They do that track that they like. That's awesome. You got the kids that come in and they do semester 1 and 2 of music theory and realize, studying it like this, really getting my teeth into how this stuff works, it doesn't feel the same. And they end up wanting to do something else, but maybe they want to keep in music, elective studies or something like that. They still get a 4-year degree. Maybe they take some 4.5, whatever. That's excellent. I think that's great. I'm always of the mindset, look, if you're going to get a 4-year degree, which seems to be a marketable thing in the world, why not get a degree that focuses on music? And if you're going to work in marketing, I don't understand how getting a degree in something else that's not related to marketing somehow helps your marketing career path better. Like, I don't know why I picked marketing, but I think there's this stigma with music degrees that if you study music and don't work in music, somehow you wasted your time doing that thing. Mm-hmm. And I'm kind of against that mindset. It's one, it's still a degree, and two, the stuff you figure out when you're studying music and those skills, the way they transfer to kind of who you become after doing that for 4 years, or it's pretty marketable.
I wonder if we on our side don't do as good of a job of communicate. I think we assume that people just know, oh, well, your ability to communicate, your ability to apply yourself like day after day after day to improving this craft that you're working on, your ability to work with others on small teams, your ability to follow direct. Like, there's all these completely transferable skills that I think we just assume people understand. Well, if you pursue music at a high level, then that has ramifications. I think people understand that more in sports, frankly, than they do in music. And I don't know what we do about it. I don't know if that's even right, but
yeah, I think it's kind of the ubiquity of sports, and you see that every single day. People, you watch a baseball game every night. You're spending 3 hours with that. This is the last time everyone is watching 162 opera performances. I mean, with a few exceptions, if that's in your life like that, then maybe you'd have a different worldview about it. But that's the new challenge, the Brass Junkies challenge: 162 operas a year.
The Met has like 162 performances a week. That's why they're like. That's why they got like two orchestras, and they're all they're all a little frazzled. It's interesting the variety of students that you get, because as you mentioned, the music ed, there's not one finish line, but there's a clear finish line. I mean, the variation, you're going to school ultimately to get that certification, because the state, is Pennsylvania a state or is it a Commonwealth? Commonwealth?
It's a Commonwealth.
Excuse me, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I was like, something doesn't sound right here. Requires, as any state does, requires you to have that. But there are other music degrees where the finish line is less defined, and that's not good. It's not bad, but it's just in general, when the path is clearly lit in front of you, you kind of know more about what you're getting into. Pivoting is good, but I think pivoting is and that's the first thing that I'm going to do with every one of the tuba students is I'm not going to try and get them to transfer, or like, I need you to, your assignment this week is to think long and hard. Do you really enjoy studying with Dr. Fowler? No, it's
maybe I'll see you next week.
Studio when I get back.
My work
here is done.
Is to get them to go on record with me, which is only to get them to go on record with themselves, just as of right now, and they can change their mind in 5 minutes, let alone in 5 months or 5 years, like where they're headed, and just to make sure that their actions are aligned, with making some progress towards that. And the good teachers like you, and I don't like to say nice things about Lance, but I'll say Lance as well, are good at getting students to do that, and it's very important. Yeah, it's very important, because the education system can kind of just, like, I was going to say chew you up and spit you out. That's not what happens. It's not, but you can just kind of go and just learn, and then just kind of be off on your way. And it's also okay to get like liberal arts degrees. I'm not saying you have to have a defined finish line. I just think that you need to go in with your eyes open as to what you're trying to get out of the asset, because going to college is a huge opportunity, but like anything, it's like, if you just I think it helps to know what you want to try and get out of college, because that also tells you what to put the most effort into. So
look, if you don't second guess yourself at least once a month, I don't know, once every 6 months, you're probably doing yourself. You should do those personal checks along the way. Like, am I sure I'm doing what I want to do? Is this still the goal I want? Like I said, I spent 10 years in a row in school pursuing 3 performance degrees. Mm-hmm. I mean, you think there wasn't a point in that where I wasn't like, what am I doing? Like, there's no, all right, you got your doctorate, here's the job, and here's, a mortgage, and like, you still kind of have to work. I don't know why I said a mortgage and a job, like they're both good things. Usually one before the other, but you know how it's there's somewhere you want to be. You don't really know what that looks like, or the thing you think it looks like at the end that you're trying to get to. If it's a straight line through there, you either did something really well, or maybe you didn't look high enough or something like that. So.
Well, and it's to change your mind is not to fail. I think some students like hang in longer than their gut says, I should do this. I should pivot. I should do this other thing. But now I feel bad because my parents invested or I invested, and it's like all this sunk costs, and I own all this equipment now, and so then they delay that decision, or they make it. Well, you come up as a musician being told that's the right note, that's the wrong note, that's the right rhythm, that's the wrong rhythm. It's like this, just like the black or white. Yeah. And so then you just sort of like, I was really good in band, so I'm gonna go be a band director. And then you get there and you're like, oh yeah, except that part. Yeah. And then, but now what? And so nobody knows anything. That's the only thing I'm more convinced about every day, is everybody's just muddling through, doing the best they can. And you just you take the information that is in front of you, and they make the best decision that you can with that.
You're not wrong.
So I'm going to do a little self-promotion here. It's actually scheduled to go live the day before this is going live. But on the TEM blog, which I'm going to link to, I did a blog post called the Avoiding the Sunk Cost Fallacy. And sunk cost fallacy, just quickly, is describes our tendency to follow through on an endeavor if we have already invested time, effort, or money into it, whether or not the current costs outweigh the benefits. And there's an example that I pulled off the internet of like, you imagine that you bought a concert ticket a few weeks ago for $50. On the day of the concert, you feel sick and it's raining outside. You know that traffic will be worse because of the rain and that you risk getting sicker by going to the concert. Despite the fact that it seems as though the current drawbacks outweigh the benefits, why are you still likely to choose to go to the concert? And obviously a concert is an easy thing but school is the same thing, or major, or any of the above. And this is not to say to leave school. It's not to say to change majors, but it's like, it's really hard to say to be 80% of the way through something and say, I'm just going to finish this, rather than, even if it involves incurring more debt or just more time before you can get on to the, Lance is very good at leaving things. As a compliment, when the time comes, he's like, he's good at leaving things, because he realizes that sticking around in things is going to prevent him from working on the next thing, whether he knows what that is or not. And that's really important. So speaking of important,
man,
Lance,
you know what's important, Andrew?
What is important, Lance?
The Mary Papert School of Music at Duquesne University in beautiful and sunny Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, of which it is only one of the two today. We would like to encourage you to visit the link that will take you, that's in the show notes, by the way, in case that wasn't clear, to go and visit the website of Duquesne and to check out what's going on in the School of Music. There's a great collection of faculty there that you can study with. James Gourlay, Jim Nova, basically just anybody named Jim. They have a really good version of.
Cornered the Jim market.
Fantastic ensembles. Actually, Gourlay's running the wind ensemble now. I don't know if you know that. So really great things happening. They've been a long-time supporter of the show, and so we would like to thank them by having you go to their website. So please do that. And a very, very, very special thanks to Jim Bo Nova for making that possible.
That was possibly the dumbest one yet. I thought there was a connection issue. I was like, no. He just said Jimbo slowly. Yes,
I thought you were just thinking of which Jim it was.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Jim, I'm one of the Jims Nova for making this possible.
So here's a very specific topic that Jonathan offered to talk about that I think is going to be helpful to some people. Is that he has recently... Do you mind if we call you Jim, by the way, Jonathan? Would that be...
you call me whatever you want, but...
Dr. Jim.
Yeah. Don't call me... I'm going to get real serious if you call me that, right?
Even if it's a fake name, the doctor just triggers him to like... Yeah.
Well, yes. Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
bluster, yes,
I'm not a full professor yet, and so I have to go into this voice for another 5 years.
Yes, bluster, and bluster.
So... Now, you have been dealing lately with some dental issues and with braces, and I think that's something that a lot of younger and some adult brass players can struggle with, and so I think it's generous of you to talk about it. So, what has your experience been with braces, and what are the challenges, and how have you worked through it?
Okay, so this would have been just before COVID. Okay, I was out in Columbus, having a post-concert drink with some of the brass section, and it came up with some trumpet players. They just started talking about their dental issues, whatever it was. It was a tooth here or a tension there or TMJ. And I realized, okay, one, I have all of those same issues, right? Sometimes it has to do with pain at a certain pressure spot on the mouthpiece, or it used to be jaw issues here and there. But I realized we don't really ever talk about this. We certainly don't teach our students about this when we probably should, or it very rarely comes up. I don't want to say we never do, but how often do we really talk about it? So for me, it was I have a tooth on the bottom that kind of juts out. It sort of pivots the mouthpiece to put a little too much pressure up there. So I was experiencing some pain there. And when you get pain, the first thing you're thinking is, oh, geez, this is doomed. My career's over, right? Done. So we put a stop to it with like a night guard. And then after the night guard sort of locked everything in place, basically you're grinding your teeth, it's moving stuff around. It's bad news. The orthodontist is like, I want to straighten you out. I want to get everything kind of moved in the right position. So we moved on it just last September. So I'm not doing the metal braces or anything like that. I'm doing these like Invisalign trays that they can put in there. Yeah, so I can take them out. I tried playing with them in for exactly 12 seconds and realized this is not an option. This is not something I can do, but you had to try. So it's moving stuff in a direction that's a lot better. I will say, depending on it's Invisalign, right? There's a bunch of different brands. It's all kind of the same thing. Sometimes they want to glue these like little plastic things on your teeth, right? You guys know about that? They call them buttons or attachments. And I've had these things for 11 months. And every time I go in, I'm like, all right, this is the week they're going to glue these things on. And he checks them and he's like, no, I'm actually happy with it. He hasn't had to glue one thing on my teeth. So I'm really happy about that. He's been pretty conservative. He knows that if I start getting little things all over my teeth, it could be a problem. So I don't know. As advice, I would say if you're experiencing pain, go get it checked out. It's totally normal. I know there's a stigma to that with brass players, but furthermore, I would say if they want to glue stuff on your teeth, like if you're a trumpet player and they want to glue stuff on that you're thinking is going to be a problem, don't just let them do it. Maybe advocate for yourself that if it's going to be a big deal, there's probably a workaround. But it's made a big difference for me. So.
Well, here's the thing that Andrew doesn't know. I just got fit. I just went and got an evaluation to go through that process. And so I'm waiting to hear back about whether the insurance will cover it or not, or how much of it that it'll cover. So it's kind of, I didn't know we were going to talk about this, but it's interesting because I have a real, it's not a 0% chance that this could screw everything up. It's not a huge chance, but it's not a 0% chance. And so I thought, well, we'll find out and take it as it comes, I guess. But it's an interesting place to be.
I had one tooth that was starting to do that right on the mouthpiece because the other one pivots it up. And after about 6 months, both of those guys are back to even now. So like pretty quick results if you wear the things.
Right. And so they told me you got to wear them like 20 hours a day minimum, right?
Yeah, if buying them and sitting them on your counter for some reason doesn't seem to do the trick. So
why not? They're expensive. You should.
They should just work.
And there's like all these. It's interesting. I've always heard, not always. I've more frequently heard trumpet players fuss with their teeth and have like a guy that they go to that'll either get them to create a wedge or to put in a gap or to just grind. Like I knew Andrew, this person, some who they would, and maybe it's more prevalent than I'm aware. Like they were filing their own teeth down with like a rasp. Yeah, like what? Huh? Like go sell insurance or something.
Was there trial and error with that, or they were like, "I'm just going in, baby"?
Well, you got to.
I took a little too much off.
Yeah, oops. Right.
Let's put some back on now. Yeah.
I'm gonna have trouble falling asleep later tonight. And it's 11 in the morning. That's terrifying.
And this person was like, "Yeah, everybody does it." I'm like, "No, I don't. I don't think that's the case. I don't think so." But yeah, the wedge thing. I noticed it more when I came to Pittsburgh. I noticed a lot of players talking about getting a wedge put in their upper teeth so that they could play the high notes, baby.
Oh,
talking about advocating for yourself. When I was a junior in high school, I had to have my wisdom teeth out, and 3 of them were fully impacted. So and one of them was coming in at like 45 degrees. Like it was like they were bad, and the dental surgeon who I went to have this done, he told me, he's like, there's like a less than 1% chance, but it's not 0, that I could accidentally strike a nerve and that you would like lose some or all feeling like in your mouth like for the rest of your life. And and I was like, and I was already real serious on the tuba at that age. I'd been to Tanglewood a bunch of times, like studying. Like I was like, all right, I don't mean to be insulting, because I'm sure you try as hard as you can for all of your patients all of the time. But you need to understand that, like, I'm going to be a professional tuba player, and that if you were to hit that nerve, then it would probably lead to me needing to have a real job, like, for the rest of my life. So you'd basically ruin my life if you did that. So if you could just, and I was saying it kind of goofy, and he smiled. He was like, I'm going to take care of you, But it was like, but and the way I said it was in a funny way, but in all seriousness, it's just kind of, like that. Yeah, I felt like I needed to just be like, this. It would suck if you tell any 16-year-old you're lost feeling in half your mouth. That's like bad, right? But like this was going to fundamentally change the course of. I mean, neither of you would be on this call right now with me if that had happened. And imagine,
I was going to ask you how it worked out.
Imagine the butterfly effect. Because one of these days I'm going to start making money playing the tuba. So I've not given up on that dream just yet. Well, that's cool though. That I appreciate you, giving. Yeah, you talked about the stigma, like giving cover almost to just like considering it, right? I mean, I think it's important.
Having that talk, it was like, oh, all three of these guys deal with something that's so, get it looked at. Totally cool.
Yeah.
Prolong your career, at least brings the anxiety down of thinking every time you play your tooth is going to cave in or something.
Yeah, right. That's not.
I mean, that's what you think. I mean, I'm not using that much pressure. Not on the record.
Oh, that's the first thing we're going to deal with when you start lessons with me. So
if it's not white, forcing all the blood out, you're not pushing hard enough.
Yep. So you have 3 teachers in your past. We all have more than just our, the teachers that we name in our bio, but you've got 3 prominent teachers in your past who are all like really big deals in the tuba world. Tim Northcutt, who is my favorite of the 3, but that's only because his son is a member of the Boston Red Sox minor league system. So that's why I like him better than Jay Crush and Scott Mendoker, who I actually adore both of them as well. But those 3, Tim, Jay, and Scott, are all like if we could get like a family tree of any one of those 3 in terms of like where their students have gone in terms of playing, college teaching jobs, band directing jobs, any of it, it's astonishing. And you got to work with all 3 of them. What was the main takeaway? If you had to boil it down, this is a hard question, but if you had to boil it down to one thing, like the one main thing that you got from each one of them, what would it be?
Yeah, it is a hard question. So with Northcutt, I would say, I would say with any of them, you have to consider like where you are in your path. When you run into that, you're going to get something different. So with Northcutt, I would say spent 4 years there. It was right out of high school. Here's a confession of a now professional tuba player. I didn't really practice the tuba in high school, like not like you would if you're looking back and thinking, man, when I'm 17, 16, like I'm really nose to the grindstone. I barely practiced. Anyway, when I get to college with Tim, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this for real. I'm going to get a performance degree. So if I'm not practicing, I'm really doing myself a disservice. So with Tim, it was really just learning how to operate the instrument, how to play the tuba, how to do develop the work ethic and get that through, and how to make it pay off in 4 years. So I went from practicing a not lot when I was in high school. I'll just say a not lot ton to 3 hours a day at Cincinnati. And then if I had to skip a day, if I had something I just couldn't get to the practice room, I was like, okay, 5 hours the next day, which 18-year-old John could do. 44-year-old John, I don't know if I can manage that type of practice schedule, but 18-year-old, when you're in college, absolutely. And that was a great environment with Tim as a weekly coach in order to do that.
You don't have to at 44 though, because at 18, what we had to because I had a similar sort of coming up, but I didn't know anything about anything, so I had to get up to there, and now it's a very, very different sort of game, and you factor in aging and all that stuff, but it's because students will ask, how much do you practice, and it's not really a fair question. How much did I ask when I was at the level that you're at now is a better, I think, barometer.
It takes a lot more. It takes a lot more time and energy and effort to obtain skills than it does to maintain skills. And those are the two different. It's not quite binary, but it's kind of binary. I mean, it's just like to acquire the ability to play really softly takes a hell of a lot more work than it does to either maintain it or to reacquire it if it's if it's been off the radar for a little bit. And so that's exactly why that question is just framed wrong. But it's a totally understandable question. There's a reason why we've all been asked that question over and over and over again, because it's a pretty logical question, right? Like, okay, I want to play like you, so what give me the deets. And it's like, well, you're going to work a lot harder than I do right now.
It's true.
That's not what they want to hear.
No, it isn't.
No, it's not.
But once you know how to sight read, you know how to sight read. Like I don't need to spend a lot of time worrying about how to ride a bicycle. I did that. So this is it's a different thing.
Those are two great examples, actually, where just establishing new patterns in your brain. That takes a hell of a lot more regular effort, right? Like that's the key, is the regular effort. All right, so that's what. And I by the way, I love and it's obvious, and yet I'm really glad that you made the point where when you were talking about your main takeaway from each of them. This is not like you studied with each of them separately at the same point in your journey. And so this is this person's strength and this is this person. No, it's like all three of them are really great teachers who teach the student. They don't even just teach Jonathan. They teach the Jonathan that's in front of them for those 4 years or for those 2 years. And that's great that you pointed that out. All right, Jay Crush, that was a master's degree, right?
That was my master's. I went to Temple degree for the Temple degree. Yeah, to Temple University for my master's, and loved, by the way, moving to Philly. And I kind of never wanted to leave. So the fact that I live just outside the city now is
it's a great city.
The thing I loved about studying with Jay is I was at this point where I needed someone at that point to listen to me play and to tell me things that I was doing or not doing that could just say, hey, do you realize you're doing this? Hey, you're not doing this. And he had such a good ear and such an articulate way of expressing something he wanted to hear that I either was or wasn't doing. So we worked really well together in that. And usually after playing something for Jay, I was always like, ugh, I'm an idiot because I didn't hear that. But you need someone that you trust. And this obviously not to say I didn't trust any of the other teachers, but at that point is whatever he was saying, I was listening and it was really helping. And I really loved that. And that aspect of my lessons with Jay. Anytime you have a lesson with somebody and you go away thinking, oh, that's usually the take you want to have. You're not always going to have your mind blown, right? Those moments are for 17-year-olds that telling them to take a deep breath is going to blow their mind.
Right. If you play with a great sound all the time, you'll be better. Like, I never thought of that. Yeah.
But saying the things at that stage that should have been obvious to me was so ridiculously helpful. And then, so when I ended up going to Rutgers for the doctorate, studying with Scott was such an extraordinary an ability to prepare you for auditions, to show you how things are going to go, to listen to you, to make those connections. And I couldn't have asked for better guidance throughout it sounds ludicrous, through my 10 years of university. A lot of people do 10 years, right? Straight through.
8 to 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a lesson with Scott Mendoker at Tanglewood. He came up to visit when I was in the Empire Brass Seminar. So this was, this was a long time ago now. This is 31 years ago, this past summer. And I remember just not only what he said, but how he said it. And just like, I adored it. And he was just very, very generous with his time. And he put up with Andy Bove and Chuck Kerrigan at the same time. Like,
I saw that. Yeah.
Same time. Like those are two like and they in high school they were bigger knuckleheads than they are now. And and he was able to navigate that with grace. So that's saying something. So yeah, Scott Mendoker is a hero. Anyway, Lance.
Mm-hmm.
You know who else is a hero? Houchin Horns.
I Could not agree more. Mark Houchin was actually talking about switching his name to Jim, but that's a different story. So Houchin Horns aims to spread the joy of music through providing the highest level of product, services, and resources to the brass playing community. 15-day money-back guarantee with free shipping on new instruments and accessories with multiple easy financing options on all inventory. Terms and conditions apply. Mouthpieces by Greg Black, Lasky, Pickett, Schilke, and Maury. Unique Varus brand products, especially designed by the craftsmen and pro musicians of Houchin Horns. Repairs and customizations in-house. Free equipment consultations in person or virtual are available with our team of professional musicians. Schedule yours at houchinhorns.com. You can watch over 200 unique videos on Houchin Horns' YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Houchin Horns. And if you enter the promo code Junkies at online checkout, you will receive 10% off your purchase from houchinhorns.com. Some limitations apply.
That was a
Hook on
journey.
Phonics can work for you.
That was
Well done.
That was pretty good.
I couldn't have done any better.
So Jonathan is a big baseball fan. I wanted to give him a chance to brag about his Orioles, who are relevant for the first time in a very long time. I'm assuming you're enjoying this season.
It's a little bit at the expense of your Boston Red Sox. I don't know if yesterday was the Little League World Series game. It was kind of awesome. They were playing up in Williamsport.
I was offered a ticket to that, which was like amazing because they're impossible to get, but I couldn't swing it because it's like too far away. Yeah. I'm glad I wasn't there also with how it ended.
I've always loved watching baseball, but the last couple of years, there's been nothing more brutal than watching a team that loses 110 games. And
I live in Pittsburgh, right?
I don't know, Jonathan. Did you see the clip when the Red Sox were just playing the? I almost said the Steelers. Who's the Pittsburgh baseball team? It's the Penguins.
Pirates.
No, yes, I know. The when they were playing the Pirates and Dennis Eckersley, Hall of Fame pitcher, who is the TV color guy, he just announced he's retiring, which is awful because he's amazing. Well, and he's always been that way. He's really good at his job. He just wants to be a grandpa and he just doesn't want to be on the road, which is admirable. It's still bad for me, so I'm mad at him. But he absolutely took the Pirates just to the man. It was like he talked about how they were just a team of and I mean it was mean, but it was fact based, or he's like no, this is not rebuilding. This is a bunch of no names. It was really
There was one quote. There was one really.
Lance, this is how bad it was. Lance sent it to me. He texted it to me. He was like, "Did you see this?" Yeah, it was pretty good.
There's one description that I got to find because it's just a beautiful insult. Oh, it is a hodgepodge. They are a hodgepodge of nothingness.
It was
wow.
It was. Yeah, it was, and he was very clear to differentiate between a team that's rebuilding and whatever the Pirates are doing. This is not what the Orioles have been doing for a few years. They've been making a lot of really good. Their drafts have been really great, and although why'd you trade Trey Mancini? That was
no, probably the one guy that people out of town were who's got value. They're like, oh, we'll trade Mancini. So.
But that's pretty cruel, right? As the team is actually
Super
good.
Sad. He's like the Buck Showalter of outfielders.
Thank you.
Just as they're getting good. See ya.
So this is going live on August 30th, so it's about a month left in the season when this goes live, but we're recording this on the 22nd. Are the Orioles making the playoffs? You got to go on the record here. Are they making one of the 3 wild card slots?
I'm going to say I hope they are, but I am a pessimist when it comes to the Orioles. So absolutely not. They're going to finish last. The Yankees are going to win the rest of the games of this entire season. The Red Sox are going to finish in second. So there's your jinx.
You have a drug problem if you think that the Red Sox are going to finish second, but that's all right.
Yep, they're going to win all of them, dude.
The Yankees' struggles of late have been exquisite. They are. They're my favorite Twitter account is a bot which is @YankeesLose, and it just tweets the score every time the Yankees lose, and it's been getting a workout lately. So yeah, now by the time this airs, they might have turned it around. But yeah, their manager Aaron Boone, he punched the table the other day in the press conference after the game. He was so mad at questioning. He by the microphone like almost fell. He had to readjust it. It was it's a real you hate to see it. You really or what's the gif with the Seinfeld with the popcorn? Like, oh, that's a shame. Yeah, that's a good meme.
I used to watch the Yankees when I was at Rutgers because I couldn't afford to get like the subscription to watch the Orioles. This is like 04, 05. So we got Yes Network. So my wife and I would watch, my now wife, we would watch 100 and probably 50 Yankees games. It's the very definition of hate watching.
Oh.
We would hate watch the Yankees 150 games a year.
That's
I know that team really well, but it's almost more exquisite watching a team every night that you're like, man, I hope they get crushed tonight. Every single night.
if you were listening to John Sterling, like that many, yeah, is he TV or is he radio? He's TV, I think. Maybe he's radio. All the Yankees announcers are atrocious. Anyway, moving right along.
Yes.
Hey, it's time for the practicing corner, presented by Hitz Academy Practice Coaching. Jonathan, this is a question for you. You're about to start lessons again. Do you want to get more done in less time in the practice room? Like compound interest in a bank account, making yourself even just 10% more efficient in the practice room will make you a better practicer forever, and those results will continue to compound for literally the rest of your career. Let practice coaching from Hitz Academy help you implement systems that will improve every aspect of your practicing routine, do better at auditions, and unlock your true potential as a musician. You can learn more at practicecoach.link/coaching. So, what is your practice tip for us here in the practice corner?
Practice tip. Okay, so if I had to say one thing about practicing, I would say always try to find something meaningful to improve. Try to be efficient. I know this is already like 2 or 3 things, but be efficient with what you're doing, and you don't want to ever count your practice time as in, well, I did 3 hours, therefore. If you can do, depending on your schedule, on your goals, if you can do an hour a day, if you can do 45 minutes some days, if you can do 2 hours other days, it's about goals, not really about time. So nothing worse than wasting, hours a day doing nothing and not getting better and then hating what you're doing. So if you like what you're doing, you'll want to do it more. So get better slowly.
Yeah, that's really great advice because it's interesting that the practice coaching and the TEM, music business coaching, a lot of it's very similar. It's what you just nailed, which is that a lot of people that are doing the entrepreneurial musician thing, they work really hard, but they don't find like the most meaningful stuff, right? Like the main thing is to keep the main thing. And a lot of people don't do that, and that is, and you just nailed it. Where you've got to figure out exactly what you need to be practicing, and what's going to be getting you, moving the needle for you the most with your goals, and then spending meaningful time doing that. Yeah, that's great advice.
Nobody that's taken a math class, you don't say how many hours a day are you practicing math. You're like, well, I did my math until there were no more problems. I had the problems that I had to solve, and then when that was done, then I went on with my life. We don't think of it that way, unfortunately, sometimes.
Yeah, really good.
And how often do you have to be like, well, prove it. What's 10 times 4?
Exactly. Hold on. Let me take my socks and shoes off and yours.
Look at the doctor here making us do math. Yeah, it's like I went to school for 10 years, so I'm going to make you do math.
If I did that 4 times, that would be 40 years. What?
What was the what I decided that I need letters at the end of my name because it just makes it sound like more professional.
Can I suggest some?
Inmate number.
Yeah. I don't need an inmate number. Although that was part of the when he's like, I want you to cover the tubas for the Sabbatical. Have you ever been arrested? I was able to say no. I was like, I haven't.
So great.
How about that? It
surprises me too.
Yeah, I know. The answer is no. What were it was double. Mike Jacobitz actually recommended Andrew Hitz DMD, which was Double Masters Dropout. I like that.
That's not bad.
That's good, right? Because DMD also, it sounds like letters that would go at the end of a name. So I think that's
Something with teeth, yeah.
That's the leading candidate. But Lance, if you can come up with something better, then go ahead. So
I can, but they're not appropriate for
yeah,
this show.
fair enough. You can tell me afterwards. Well, Dr. John, this has been wonderful. We are going to have the good doctor here hang on for the bonus episode, which is available to all of our Patreon patrons. You can go to patreon.com/The Brass Junkies to learn more about all the things that you get for becoming a Patreon patron and for supporting the Brass Junkies with all of our ongoing expenses. So everyone who's already done that, you are very, very appreciated. But if you're only able to listen or watch on YouTube, then we are just happy that you are here. So I think, Lance, is that it? Do I need any? I think that
you need a lot.
We've got.
I think we've gone as far as we can go.
Jonathan made us do math. You invented a word. I don't even remember what it was before, but it was something.
It's a good one.
Yeah, and then Jimbo. That was pretty good. Anyway, Jonathan, you rock. Thank you very much. And that is going to do it for another episode of The Brass Junkies. You've been listening to The Brass Junkies on the Pedal Note Media Podcast Network. If you would like to hear the bonus episode featuring today's guest, please visit patreon.com/thebrassjunkies to learn how you can support the show and instantly access all bonus materials, as well as gain access to a special patron-only Facebook group. The Brass Junkies is produced by the amazing, wonderful, and truly inspirational Will Houchin. The theme music was composed by Fernando Dados and performed by Andrew Hitz and Lance LaDuke. We are at Pray for Jens on Twitter and Instagram and have a Facebook page at facebook.com/prayforjens. You can find out more about the Brass Junkies and all the other Pedal Note Media podcasts at pedalnotemedia.com. This has been a presentation of the Pedal Note Media Podcast Network.